Welcome back, guys. Today, I kind of wanted to do a throwback. I've been really feeling the urge to do videos that I used to do back in the past. Go back to the old style, back when I had my first channel, when a lot of you first started watching me, way back in the early 2000s. So, today, we are going to be doing a pickups video. Recently, earlier, or at least earlier on in the year, I had to get rid of a huge chunk of my video game collection. And while that does suck, I know I have a lot of the stuff I used to have, and a lot of those things that I grew up with. There is a perk to starting over, and that means you get to collect all the cool shit all over again. So today, we're going to be doing an August through September pickups video, and we have a lot to cover. So what I'm going to do in this video, guys, is I'm actually not going to be talking too much in detail about each individual item. I'll briefly go over kind of any history I have with it. I don't know a lot about these games, which is why I'm buying them right now. I know a little bit about some of them. I played some of them. I've beaten some of them. It all just depends on how the video goes. I already know this is going to be a long one for how much I have to cover, but so sit back, sit tight, and if you guys want to talk to me about any of this stuff, reach out to me on social media. I have a Twitter link and Facebook links down below, as well as my Instagram page. But before anything else, let's just go ahead and jump right on into this bad boy. So pretty much how we're going to do this is I'm going to start from kind of the retro stuff and work our way to a current gen stuff. Starting out, we have the Castlevania Adventure on Game Boy. Castlevania Adventure, I actually had never gotten to play. I haven't gotten to play any of the Castlevania handheld games, actually. But I know this one is probably the worst one in the series from what I have heard. The graphics aren't great. The music's kind of meh, as from what I'm hearing, but I'm not 100% sure. But I'm trying to get a lot of my Castlevania games. I'm going for a complete Castlevania collection. So this one is a must-have. I know I need to get Belmont's Revenge, and then Legends is going to be a pain in the butt to track down. But having this one first out, and in such good condition too, I'm very excited to add that to the collection. Going into, I think one of my two imports I have recently picked up is I'm a huge horror guy. I'm a huge horror, monster, movie, gory fan. I'm a huge fan of metal, gore, everything dark, everything death. And this game is actually not that, but it's based off a series that is. This is the elusive Splatterhouse Wampaku Graffiti. This is a weird side-scrolling style game, just like the original Splatterhouses, but it's all brightly colored, and it's a really weird rendition in the Splatterhouse line. It was the only one released on a Nintendo console, so I had to pick this one up. I've been looking for it for years, and I never got to play it, and finally I found a copy of it. I only paid a few bucks for it, but it's in a little bit beat-up condition, but just having the game is awesome, because now I get to start my Splatterhouse collection. But for 1989, before Splatterhouse, I think Splatterhouse 1 came out in the TurboGrafx, and then ported over to the Genesis, and then eventually the remake. This is the weirdest one in the series for sure, and I might do a Let's Play of this one. Let me know if you'd be interested in that. But super happy to finally add that one. The only one that could top that really is getting the original Splatterhouse on the TurboGrafx, which is going to be damn near impossible to find for a decent price. Getting into some Super Nintendo goodness here. Ended up finding a decent copy of ActRaiser. Don't know too much about the game. I know it came out by Enix. I had ActRaiser 2 in the original collection, never had ActRaiser 1, but very excited to get to add this. If I remember right, I hear everybody talk about it. I don't know exactly what it's all about, but I'm pretty sure I never got to play the second one. It went into the backlog immediately when I got it. But I'm pretty sure it's like a side-scrolling hack and slash style game. Great soundtrack. I've listened to the soundtrack like crazy on this game, but I've never played it. And I finally found a copy of it, so I'm very excited to actually get to try that one out. Coming up next, we have Super Castlevania 4, a very, very iconic Castlevania game. This one in Dracula X. This one was a huge ordeal because this is the first time you can actually move the whip around. And whip in all 8 directions. So that actually changed one of the game mechanics for traditional Castlevania style gameplay that really revolutionized how things went going forward. Unfortunately, the next game they went with Rondo of Blood, they went backwards. But I think in Bloodlines they continue to use that. I'm not 100% sure. Let me know that in the comments below. It's been a long time since I played the Castlevania series, so I'm going to be doing an entire series playthrough for Halloween. So we'll get to check that out together. But super excited to get this one. I think the only ones I'm missing now is Dracula X on the Super Nintendo. So very excited to get to pick that one up. All right, let's get into some NES amazingness. This one actually just came in today. We have Ghosts and Goblins, considered one of the hardest games ever, as well as one of the hardest NES games of all time. Ghosts and Goblins is the first rendition of the arcade classic, where you are Arthur trying to rescue the princess. And you go through painstaking levels to get to the castle, and just hordes of enemies. The weapons are insane. It's based off the arcade game, and it is phenomenal. Love the soundtrack for it. Love the gameplay. Have actually the arcade machine for it. Well, I have the arcade 1-up that has it on there. But love this game. Really, really want to find the Super Nintendo version, but definitely wanted to grab this one because this is considered one of the hardest NES games of all time, and I'd like to have at least the top 5 hardest NES games in my collection. So we're just going to start there. Find a place for those. All right, these next couple I'm going to do in a bunch. Of course, like I said, I'm rebuilding my Castlevania collection, so I had to grab Castlevania 1, Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest, and Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. All these are actually in pretty decent condition. There's a little bit of mess up with the sticker on Castlevania 1, but it's not terrible. I just recently picked up all these. Actually, Castlevania 1 even has a slightly weird discoloration on it. This game I should probably played the crap out of. The Castlevania series is one of the greatest franchises of all time, in my opinion, but you can't talk about the NES without having Castlevania in there somewhere. It's just getting to play in the world of monsters where there's Dracula, mummies, Frankenstein's monsters, Medusas. The soundtracks are amazing and just really good challenge, really difficult games, but still an amazing franchise. Very excited to get to actually have the first 4 in the series, as well as me and my wife just recently started watching the Netflix anime, and it's actually really good, and that one's based off of Kid Dracula's Curse, so introducing her into the series has been a whole really cool experience all in itself. But super happy to get to add to these through. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a full playthrough eventually of all the Castlevania games in sequence, so very excited to actually have at least the first 4 that we can go off of. The next one I have is Mega Man 2, considered one of the best shooters of all time. One of the best platformers, considered one of the best soundtracks of all time. Mega Man 2 is an iconic game because this is where a lot of people got their start with the Mega Man franchise. Has some of the most memorable bosses, the most memorable music, and it's just a must-have for any NES collector for sure. Very happy to have that one. And it's a lot of people's favorite Mega Man as well. The other one I got was Mega Man 5, one of the most expensive out of the original 6. Really hard to find, but this one's actually in really darn good shape. Of course, it's Mega Man goodness, 5th in the installment. I never did find out why 5 was the expensive one. I never could figure that out. With 2 being the most popular, 1 is also up there in price. I thought I had 1. Wait a minute. Hold up. Okay, we're good. I never could figure out why 5 was the expensive one. If anyone knows, please let me know down in the comments below. Or reach out to me on social media. This one is very special to me, considering I got this for a friend, and it didn't work on his console, but I got it home, and it worked on mine. So, it gets to go in my collection. I will find this for him eventually, and hopefully be able to get it to him, but I almost helped him complete his entire Mega Man NES collection. I ended up giving him 3 and some money, and he let me keep this one, so very cool. Mega Man 1, one of the worst box arts of all time, but the start to one of the most epic Capcom franchises. The crazy thing is, it actually looks even way more different, because once Mega Man started releasing after 2, they started using a black or they started using a purple logo banner thing there, where Mega Man 1 was still like a dark blue or a dark black. fantastic start to a franchise. Great soundtrack, great music. Just worst box art of all time. I don't know what they did there. Why they gave him a gun, why he looks like that, why he's contorted like that, but they ended up making a joke of it in Street Fighter, so that was actually pretty funny. But super excited. That means I only need 2 more to complete the full Mega Man franchise there. I need 3 and 6. I need 4 as well, so we're almost there. We're getting there for the full release set there. Next up, we have Strider on the NES. This is actually one of the first NES games I ever beat. This is a home console port of the arcade game. While the NES isn't the best version of this game, it was one of the first versions I ever played. I really like the gameplay of this. I love the soundtrack. It's just so satisfying to just run around murking all the machines and all the enemies as you go on. I need to replay this one soon. Fantastic game. Love the arcade game. Love the NES version. And there are better ports out there. Really wish Capcom would do more with the franchise. We did get an HD remake, but I just wish we would get more in that franchise for sure. Next up, coming from SNK, one of my favorite video game companies, Crystalis. Now, I do not know too much about this, except this was supposedly meant to be a Zelda killer. A lot of people consider it better than Legend of Zelda. I'm not too sure on that because I'm a huge Legend of Zelda fan, but I had to pick this one up. It's actually in really good shape. Let me know what you guys think of Crystalis in the bottom. Is it better than Legend of Zelda or not? I will be playing it soon to judge that, but I know this and I think Golvalius have been known to rival Zelda. But very excited to have this. Of course, it's been re-released on multiple other consoles. For the HD collections, for the SNK 40th anniversary. There are other ways to play it, but I'm still excited to have the original NES cartridge. Getting into the next one, we have another trilogy, which I need to get the 4th one, but just having the original trilogy here is insane because I never had the 3rd game. But coming up with the first one is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, another one of the games that is considered to be one of the most frustrating and hardest games on the NES due to level design and everything like that. It's Ninja Turtles. If you guys haven't seen anything on Ninja Turtles yet, go check out AVGN. He does a great video on it. James Rolfe does a really good rendition of how that game is frustrating, and also Mike Matei did a full playthrough of it on his stream, so check that out. We have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, 1989 release. This is a home port of the extremely awesome arcade game. You've probably seen the arcade game at Walmart with the 1-Up arcade machines. They usually have one of the Turtles machines plugged in so you can play them. Side-scrolling beat-em-up, one of the best beat-em-ups on the console, I feel like. And it's Ninja Turtles. You get to go around as one of the Turtles, beating up all of these awesome bosses, and the minute you get to the first battle with Rocksteady, it's freaking amazing. So, it's just a fantastic game. This one, I have never been able to get my hands on. I finally picked it up. A lot of these games, and I do want to mention, do a plug here, Steel Collectibles in Kennesaw, Georgia. Go check them out. They have been amazing to me, and they've helped me get a lot of these into my collection, including Manhattan Project. They have been so cool. I bought this. They held on to it for like a couple weeks until I could come pick it up. Go check them out, guys. I'll plug them in the bottom and hopefully do a full video on them later on. But they helped me get Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, the Manhattan Project. On Genesis, it was known as the Hyperstone Heist. Don't know too much about this game. The reason a lot of that is why I don't know a whole lot about these games, is because I'm the kind of person that doesn't look into them too much. I look at a couple screenshots, look at a trailer, and that's it. I hear people talk about them, but in terms of what the games are going to entail, it's going to be a complete surprise to me. And that's what I love about gaming, is I'm still able to do that. I treat it like the 90s. So I'm very excited to actually have this one in the collection and get to play it very soon. And it's in really good shape too. I'm very happy to actually finally own that and complete the NES collection of Turtles. Coming up on the next one is Star Tropics. This one was recommended to me by a friend. I believe there's a second one, or am I confusing Adventure Island? No, I think it's this one where you visit your uncle on an island. It is a pretty good RPG. I don't know if that's the same game I'm thinking of. But It was recommended to me by a friend, so I'm excited to get to check this one out. I will probably talk about this later on once I learn more about it. But if you guys have any recommendations on stuff to pick up, please let me know, because I will definitely grab it. Now, this one was not a pickup. This one is something I've actually owned since I was a little kid. This is, I think, the only game I still have from my original NES when I was very little. So this is a very, very, very treasured game. My dad recently found it in the basement. First time I had to restart collecting, somebody came into my house and took my collection. And I thought they got this, and they didn't. And this is one of the first games I ever received as a child. That's how I know it's authentic and everything like that. And it's not super expensive, not super rare, but it's DuckTales 1. This game was so frustrating as a kid, but I always loved the music, and now as an adult, the entire time I never realized there was a pogo hop you could use to defeat enemies. So I ended up going through half the game, never even realizing that, but I found my original copy of, or my dad found my original copy of DuckTales. Having this back in my collection is more than overwhelming for me because I've lost so many of my games over the years, and not having anything from my childhood anymore. In terms of my video games, I still have some figures, some VHS tapes, stuff like that, but having an original NES game from my very first NES is very special to me, considering like just the age of it, and just having it is a huge deal to me. So this is probably my most prized possession in my collection now. Very excited to get to add that one back in. Thank you, Dad. Coming in on the next one is Legend of Zelda 1 and Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. Had to pick these up, of course. Have played and beaten the first one. Have not played and beaten the second one. I have played it, but I just haven't beaten it yet. If you don't know anything about Legend of Zelda, you've been probably living under a rock. Legend of Zelda, this is actually the gray cart, which is a little bit harder to find than the gold cart. Gold cart was more sought after earlier on, and everyone went to go find it, but the gray cart is something you don't see very often, so that's very cool. A lot of things that get redone in this style have the Legend of Zelda with the gray cart because it's a little bit harder to find. Not more expensive, just harder to find. I got the gold cart of Zelda 2 because, of course, the gray cart is a little bit harder to find. You always see the gold carts everywhere because they stand out. They're gold. So the only other cartridges that were gold were third-party games and the World Championship Series. So they stick out in the collection pretty much like a sore thumb. I will get the gold card of the other one eventually, but I want to find the gray card of this one and the gold card of the other, so I have all four. But great, fantastic games. Some of my favorite on the platform. I got my start with Ocarina of Time. Never got to play the original Legend of Zeldas growing up, but finally, once I got a hold of adult money, I had to get on the Zelda bandwagon, and now it's one of my favorite series of all time. Speaking of a game we talked about before, Hudson Soft, we have Adventure Island. Hudson Soft, that little Hudson Bee, has brought joy to so many people, and you'd think that just looking at this looks like a kid's game. I assured you it's not. I need to find the second and the third one. Unfortunately, this one does have a little bubble on there. So it's not the best condition, but at least it's going to look nice on the shelf. And just having it in general is enough for me. I'm very excited about that. This game I know little to nothing about outside of it is a remake, or this is a westernized release of the first Dragon Ball game. This is Dragon Power. Released by Bandai, before Bandai Namco. Don't know too much else about it besides I think you're Goku going through some of the adventures and antics that he went through in the original Dragon Ball series. But super excited to get to try it. I hear it's a terrible game, but still, it's one of the first Dragon Ball games that ever came to America. Even though it's not directly called Dragon Ball, it's still super awesome to even have. Now this next one is very near and dear to my heart. I'll probably tell a story about this generation a little bit more later on down the road, but I had to pick up Sunsoft's Batman, considered one of the best Batman games of all time on the NES. This is where the purple Batman came to be. One of the best action platformers that I have probably ever played. A great soundtrack, but this is what I played before Ninja Gaiden. In this game, you had to master the wall jump very early on, otherwise you were not getting through this game. This game even still holds up today, and I am so happy to actually have this one in the collection. This one is based off the 1989 Michael Keaton Batman movie, and Batman being as awesome and metal as fuck. Just look at that. Look at that. You can't get more freaking sick than that cover right there. So very excited to actually get to own that. I actually have never owned that game. I have played it at countless friends' houses all the time. I've emulated it. Now I finally own it. Getting into the next game, I'm a huge Afterburner guy. I love anything dealing with air fighting, anything like that. Afterburner was one of the first arcade games I ever played. So, of course, getting these on NES was a no-brainer. That is the Top Gun games, Top Gun and Top Gun 2 Second Mission, or Top Gun Second Mission. It's not called Top Gun 2 for some reason. But plays very similar to Afterburner, but it has a landing mechanic. Check out AVGN if you guys want to hear about that. If you don't know how to land, it's very frustrating, but still love the Top Gun movies. The games are alright. Frustrating, but still alright. Of course, as I've said, I'm an AVGN fan, so of course this one came from him. I had to pick up Bugs Bunny in the Bugs Bunny Crazy Castle. What more is there to say about this? James Rolfe pretty much said it all. I got it because I want to beat a lot of the games that he showcased on his show, just to see if I can beat them. See if I can experience the frustration. I never played it as a kid, but really want to check this out. And, of course, it's Bugs Bunny. I mean, any Looney Tunes stuff from the 80s and 90s, it's a must-have. This game, I really wish was a little bit in better condition, but that is the first Dragon Quest game, Dragon Warrior. This is where it all started here in America. It was called Dragon Warrior. It wasn't called Dragon Quest until Dragon Quest VII, I believe. But over in Japan, it was called Dragon Quest, one of the biggest RPGs of all time. And this was pretty much the go-to RPG before Phantasy Star. Right. This was one of the go-to RPGs on the NES. Fantastic combat system, fantastic creatures, great story. Love this game. If you have an NES, you have to have this in your RPG collection. And I think it goes up to 4 on the NES, so 4 is kind of pricey, though. This one is one of my proudest moments of ever beating this game. Considered the hardest, if not one of the hardest, games on the NES. That is the original Ninja Gaiden. This game is short but frustrating. The characters move like crazy on this screen. Combat's really awesome. Mechanics are really cool. Special powers are really cool. But just everything comes at you like balls to the wall. This is one of the reasons people say when a game's hard, it's NES hard. They're talking about this motherfucker right here. This is one of the most brutal experiences I've ever had, and I've beaten it. I'm proud to say that. I'm taking that to my grave. I've beaten Ninja Gaiden 1, and now I own it again. Very exciting. It's not hard to find. The trilogy is the one that's really crazy to find. This one I just picked up because it's made by Taito, and I don't know anything about it really. I just picked it up because I thought the graphics were cool, and it's made by Taito. So Legend of Kage. A lot of people say Legend of Cage, but I'm pretty sure it's Kage. If you know anything about it, let me know. I picked it up because it's Japanese and it's cool. Another one I picked up because I thought it looked cool and it was based off one of my favorite franchises, and I'm probably going to regret it. If you pick up anything based off of something that's non-video game related media, 9 times out of 10 it's shit. But we're going to see Knight Rider. Don't know anything about it. Didn't even know it had an NES game, but I love Knight Rider. I'm a huge fan of Kit. I think this is based off of the original Knight Rider show. Seeing which version of Kit it is, there's actually 3 or 4 versions of Kit. This is, I think, Kit 1000. So I think this is... Where's the Kit 3000? It's been so long since I've seen the franchise, but Knight Rider has always been one of my favorite TV series. And now I own the NES game. We'll have to try that one out together on stream. All right, the last loose game is, of course, because I want to beat every game that AVGN reviews, and I need to taste that shitty rainbow every once in a while. The Karate Kid, perfect example of something that came from non-video game related media to a video game and turned into complete ass. The Karate Kid. I don't know if they ever made a 2 and 3, but I mean, the artwork on the front is still really cool. It's still really good design. Daniel and Mr. Miyagi on the front, showing Daniel learning his flying kick. It's still pretty cool. You know, cool cover art. I really like it. Actually, really well done cover. Just unfortunately, it turned out to be a crap game. All right, going into a few boxed games. These actually my buddy Phelan picked up for me. And these were just really cool to see. They unfortunately don't have any of the manuals, but they do have the original boxes that are cut up and pasted on these from a library. Apparently, back in the day, libraries would rent out NES games. Of course, they were Bible games. So, getting into the first one is Spiritual Warfare. I'm not sure who made that. Is this Wisdom Tree as well? I'm not 100% sure, but play for Nintendo on the front. Like I said, whoever did this cut the entire thing up and taped it to the back. It even has still the library value on it where you can find it in the card sleeve. Open it up, and it is even has the name of it right there. That black famous cartridge for third-party games. Property of Nintendo system. I can't remember who did it. It's either Wisdom Tree or somebody that turned into Wisdom Tree. It's Wisdom Tree. It says right there on the front. But it says, to start game, please wait up to 9 flashes on TV screen. Power on, please wait 7 seconds before power off and power on again. It even has to tell you how to do it. But, I mean, the artwork looks really cool. This one is actually, I believe, to be considered Legend of Zelda Bible version, I think, is what they call this one. This one basically is a reskinned Legend of Zelda. So that's kind of actually cool to have. I like that's in the library casings. I just think it's really cool that they actually have all that on there. Plus, it's something that a lot of people got to play. And just having something from old libraries was a huge thing because you used to go to the library, rent, check out books, and, you know, there you go. We didn't have the internet back then. You went to the library to go get entertainment. So that's really cool just to kind of have all this stuff. The next one from Wisdom Tree is Joshua, the Battle of Jericho. Don't know anything about this one. It kind of looks like a Bomberman style game. Of course, the book, the art, and everything has been taken off and put on the covers of them. What's really cool about this one is it actually still has all the dates it was checked out, and somebody played this game a lot. Last time I was checked out was 2005. But originally checked out May 2nd, May 30th, September, October, November, January, 99, all the way through. And it actually just has timestamps of when people checked it out. This one is definitely way more used. So it's definitely more worn out. It has a stamp on it, unfortunately. But still just really cool to have. The box has been beaten to crap, though. Still even just happy to own it. Very excited about that one. And the next one is one of the most famous Bible games by Wisdom Tree. Of course, that is Bible Adventures. Has 3 minigames on it where you can go through various quests in dealing with the story of the Bible. This is the one most people played if they played any of the Wisdom Tree games. This is the most common one. This is the one I played as a kid, and I actually didn't think it was a terrible game. I actually had a lot of fun playing with this one with a buddy of mine, local family friend. And it was an enjoyable time. It was a really enjoyable time. That one has the card as well. Just super cool to actually get to add that to the collection. But it's just not terrible. It's not terrible at all. These next two are pretty insane. Very excited actually to have these. These are my only 2 boxed games I have in terms of original. That is Bionic Commando. Fantastic game where you're a super soldier that has a bionic arm. This one actually does not have the manual, I don't believe. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, it does. This one actually still has the manual. I just love box NES games. The artwork is so cool on them. Great Capcom release. This one actually still has the Nintendo Power Inlet and the coupon. that came with it. But this is a pretty much pristine copy. Very excited to actually own this one. Very, very, very clean. Pretty much almost brand new. I love it to death. And then, of course, stuff we don't get very often is instruction manuals. Very clean instruction manual. Not an expensive game, but still really cool to have. Just tells you a little bit about the game, how to play it, some extra stuff. The cool part about these was just the artwork inside of them actually gave you a story of the game. These NES games didn't have a lot of ways to tell you the story of what was going on in the game. So, a lot of them, including like Legend of Zelda, you needed to have the manual to know what was going on, what was what. I think Simon's Quest was that way too. But yeah, you needed a lot of help from that manual. And finding manuals and in-boxed NES games is getting harder and harder to do. So it's very handy to have, but it always had the information of probably why you were stuck if you just picked up the cartridge. So I am very, very excited to actually have that. So getting these games complete is really cool. It goes for $70. I think I played like 6 for it, which is awesome. Oh, it actually still... This one even came with this. This one actually came with the Capcom poster that had the other games that they released. Strider, DuckTales 1943, Legendary Wings. What else is on here? Mickey Mouse Capade, California Games, Mega Man 2, just other Capcom properties. That was another cool thing, is they actually put a lot of this other cool promo stuff in the boxes, but that's just kind of what happened back in the day, is when you would get these for Christmas, you would just pop the top, pull the game out, parents would take this and just toss it. And that was one of the unfortunate things from the 80s and 90s. Next one is Chippendale Rescue Rangers, another Capcom game. Very excited to actually have this one. I don't know if this one has everything too. Rescue Rangers 2 is the expensive one here. But of course, that cover art is just so nostalgic. Right up the scale for the Disney licensed games. The NES was packed with licensed games from back in the day. And there's a little Nintendo Power sleeve here. Or Nintendo Power ad. But licensed games on the NES were literally everywhere, and they were good. Most of them were really good. It was only until LJN got a hold of them that they started to turn to crap. Get free video games for a monthly drawing from Capcom registration. Wonder if we can still do that. Capcom, you want to give me some free games? There's no expiration date on it. What do you say? But of course, another pristine, clean copy. Thank you so much, Phelan, for helping me get Chippendale Rescue Rangers 1. Now, this one I do believe is missing the manual, which I need to hunt down to make it fully complete. But still, just having all the inlets, and everything like that is still really cool. And just for the sheer fact of having boxed NES games is amazing. I really want to complete DuckTales, so that way I can have a majority of the Saturday afternoon games, which if you aren't familiar and you're not from the 90s or late 80s, Saturday afternoon was the day that we all sat down with our bowl of cereal and watched cartoons on Disney Channel, where it was Chippendale Rescue Rangers, Darkwing Duck, Tailspin, DuckTales, Gargoyles, and a whole bunch of other shows Saturday morning when we didn't have school. So that was a huge ordeal for us, and it's super nostalgic getting those, because a lot of these games I didn't have in my original collection, so I'm getting them all back, and it's awesome that I'm getting box stuff this early. Because usually, or at least I know a lot of collectors, they'll go for the cartridges and then start going for box later on. But I just happened to get lucky here and get some boxed games, and I'm super excited about it. Now that we've gone on and gushed about the Nintendo till our guts can't handle it anymore, let's go into some Sega. Sega! I love Sega. I'm a Sega fanboy. The Master System, Genesis. I didn't have a Sega growing up. I had a Sega Nomad, but I never got a Genesis. And I only had Sonic 2 and 3. None of my friends had Sega. They were all Nintendo kids. So I only got to experience Sega stuff when I was out and about at game stores or gas stations when they had the marquee for the Genesis. They had the Genesis and Sonic play on there. Same way with the Dreamcast. Never got to experience Sega fully until I was an adult. And when I did, I was hooked, because there's so many games on these consoles that I never got to experience. And I didn't even realize that the Master System was a thing up until I was like in my 20s. I thought NES was the only game console out at that time. That was it. Didn't find out about Atari, the TurboGrafx, or the Master System until I was older. So ever since then, I've been obsessed with all three consoles from that generation. And I got a few Master System games here that I recently picked up. Recently, I picked up Rocky. Rocky, if you guys aren't familiar, This is a game based on the movie, which is about boxing, fighting. This is based off the movie. This is, of course, based off the movie Rocky, the boxing movie about a fighter coming up in the sport, and Adrian and all that stuff. Sylvester Stallone movie. Double Dragon, one of the best arcade beat 'em ups in existence outside of Final Fight. Double Dragon is one of the most iconic because it is the two brothers going through trying to rescue a woman. And just fantastic side-scrolling beat 'em up. And then, of course, considered the starts to one of the greatest RPGs franchises of all time. That is the original Phantasy Star on the Master System. This makes my rarest game on the Master System. This is where it all started. Johnny Millennium, Happy Console Gamer. If you haven't seen his show, he is a Phantasy Star nut. I got my start with Phantasy Star Online via the Sega Dreamcast and the Nintendo GameCube. But this is where it all started. This is back before it was a hack and slash RPG, to back when it was turn-based. And this was around the same time as Final Fantasy and Dragon Warrior, Dragon Quest. Phantasy Star was more that futuristic space dungeon crawler RPG, whereas Dragon Quest was more of the medieval kind of RPG, and Final Fantasy was more of that kind of medieval techie kind of RPG. This was like futuristic space RPG, anime style graphics. Loved this game when I emulated it, and I finally get to own it and play it. So I actually picked that up from my old job at Game Exchange. Getting into some Genesis games here. Starting off, we have a bad label copy of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Tournament Fighter. There are two versions of this. There is the NES version, which I don't know how they have a fighting game on the NES, considering it's only 2 buttons. And this one, I know there are differences between the two. I don't know what they are. I think there's an extra character in this one, or there's a different character in this one than there is in the NES version. But this is Tournament Fighter. Is basically a fighting game with the Ninja Turtles. Haven't really gotten another one of those in a long time, so I think the last fighting game we got with the Turtles was on the Wii, or was that a beat 'em up? I'm not 100%. Another one we have Chakan. I have no idea what any of this game is about. All I've seen is a couple screenshots of it, little animation where he's running around, and he's this Grim Reaper Scarecrow Darkwatch looking motherfucker. It looks like he's about to rip your soul from your nutsack. It is insane how awesome he looks. He's just like metal as fuck, just what you gonna do? And it's so awesome. He's just dual wielding katanas. Looks like some kind of he looks off like he's off an Iron Maiden cover if they were covering Van Helsing or something. Super cool look to him. I know nothing about it, but I'm super excited to get to play that. I hear it's really good. Let's see. The next game I know nothing about, but I'm a huge Star Trek fan. So I had to pick this one up and see how it was. I don't know what style of game it is. I don't know anything about it, actually. I just picked up Star Trek The Next Generation. Just because it's Star Trek. I might regret that, but I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm not the kind of guy that goes and researches my games before I buy them. I like to be a little kid and go look and say, "Ooh, that looks cool," and then I'll regret if I spent my money. Regret if I spent that much money later on. Anything over like $30, I will research unless it's a brand new game. But anything retro and it's over 30, I'm gonna double check, see if it's something I'm gonna be interested in. But this was only $3, so I picked it up. Faithful Sonic Spinball. I actually really enjoy this game. This game is probably the easiest Sega game to pick up. It is everywhere. Anywhere that sells Sega games, you're going to find a copy of this. It's one of the easiest games to find complete in box. Unfortunately, where I went, I didn't find it complete in box, but it's a pinball game with Sonic, which is super awesome. Really cool level designs. Love the soundtrack. It's a Sonic pinball game. All right, now another game that I picked up just because of the title, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Again, know nothing about it. Don't know if it's a space shooter or a RPG or a text-based adventure. No clue, but we'll find out together on the stream. Now, this game is awesome. Any of these games that I can manage to get my hands on, I do. I love comic book games, and back in the day, if it didn't have LJN on it, well, sometimes LJN released a decent game, but most of the other IPs were just kind of poorly done, and this one has tape on the top. I don't know if I'm going to regret doing this or not. Anyways, I plan on getting a complete box. Somebody put tape over the top. That is Maximum Carnage. This is Spider-Man Venom Maximum Carnage. This is basically where Carnage gets free, and a bunch of the other symbiotes this is where Carnage gets free, and Spider-Man and Venom have to team up to take down Carnage. Fantastic game, great soundtrack. Controls are a little stiff, but it's still really fun. Very much like a comic book. This one basically feels like you're playing a comic book. I love it, and it's fantastic. Super happy to get it. I do want if I remember right, the NES or the SNES version is a red cartridge. I definitely want to pick that up, but super excited to get to add that to my collection. I need to find Separation Anxiety in the first Spider-Man game as well. But starting out with Maximum Carnage being one of my favorite Spider-Man characters, I'm okay with that. This one I know nothing about, but it's really cool because it has a crab fighting a robot. Fighting Masters. Me and my friends, if you guys haven't been able to tell from my other channels and other groups that I'm a part of, me and my friends love fighting games, and any fighting game I can get my hands on, I pick up. So Fighting Masters on the Genesis. This one's going to be interesting to check out. I know nothing about it. And, of course, a beat-up copy, but just because I wanted to play Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, Revenge of Shinobi. This is probably one of the smartest pickups you can get if you're looking to get into Genesis, because this has some of the more expensive games on it, or harder to find games. This is the Sega 6-pack, has Sonic the Hedgehog 1, Golden Axe, Super Hang-On, Streets of Rage 1, Revenge of Shinobi, and Columns. Which is a great way to play a lot of the games. Not the best versions of any of them by all means. Sometimes if you have a TV or a CRT that you're playing on that you aren't able to adjust the picture, you might run into a problem with the screen getting cut off on this, but still an easy way to just pop in and play the games if you don't want to haul around a bunch of cartridges. But still fantastic to own. I have one more handheld game I'm going to get out of the way. There's a place called Five Below that you can pick up anything for pretty much $5 or under. It's like it's the $5 Dollar Tree store. Sometimes they sell video games. Like right now they have Darkstalker Genesis over there for $5. But I picked up Yokai Watch. Apparently this is a Pokemon ripoff, very similar to Pokemon in a style where you collect little creatures and have them battle one another. Don't call PETA, but I picked it up for $5 and it is sealed. So, just sometimes you pick up stuff randomly. All right, getting into the newer generations, we have the PlayStation 1. The PlayStation 1 is a console that I never personally owned until I was an adult, but I played the ever-loving crap out at my buddy's house. We played Mortal Kombat, we played Tomb Raider, we played Twisted Metal, all that stuff. The PlayStation 1, I did play PlayStation 1 games when I got a PS2, and recently I just got a PS1 back, so I was like, hey, let's grab some PS1 games. Starting off with a heavy hitter, I got Final Fantasy Chronicles. Now, the one thing is, with the older games in terms of like PlayStation, stuff like that, I do not like I like the greatest hits because it's green. But, I'm not too big on the labels when it gets to the older stuff. PS2, I do collect only black labels. But I just inherited some red labels. With PlayStation 1, it's kind of cool because it's green. I like it. Not too bad. But Final Fantasy Chronicles, I picked this one up because I haven't played through Chrono Trigger yet. And this one, while the load times are worse, it has the anime cutscenes, and I'm very curious about that. And the NES port and the DS port are super expensive to try to get a hold of right now. And I just want to play Chrono Trigger. So I picked up this version. Of course, I can get it on mobile or something else, but, it's an easy way to play Chrono Trigger. It's just like $12. Leave me alone. And it's complete. It actually has everything. And I actually got something related to this down here that's going to be really awesome to talk about. Let's go to the next one. Since we just talked about Chrono Trigger, let's get into its sequel, Chrono Cross. Another one that's a little bit harder to pick up. Not super expensive, but it is getting harder to find. But Chrono Cross, again, green label. Like I said, PlayStation 1, I'm not too big of a stickler on which version I have, unless there's a version out there that has something different, then I will try to find that. So if there's a different version of Chrono Cross, let me know. But this is the sequel to Chrono Trigger, and it is set 20 years after the events, I believe. And I have the anime of this, so I've loved the anime, so I'm curious at what the game's like. So I picked it up. I'm very excited to get to play it. RPGs are just... I didn't get into RPGs till way later on in life, so now I have to backtrack and play all of them all over again. Boo-hoo, so sad. But at least I'm getting to play them. I just was more action-based when I was a kid. Who knows? This is another series that was recommended to me, and I know I'm going to get flack for this in the comments. As a kid, I was not the biggest fan of the series. I played, I think, number 4, and I just was not the biggest fan of the style, and now I'm going to give it a retry because everybody says that I need to play through it at least once. So I picked up Metal Gear Solid on the PS1. I like this version because it's shiny and it has a shiny red on there with the green, so it's like Christmas. It's great, Christmas. Everybody says it's great. I love Snake. I love his ideals, and I want to start at the beginning. I'm very curious about Metal Gear Solid 5. I love seeing him in Smash, so I'm gonna go ahead and just try out the series. We're gonna start from the beginning because I'm a chronological asshole. All right, going into. Let's go into these two. One of my favorite series, being a survival horror fan, is the Resident Evil series. And recently, I started my Resident Evil collection all over again, except for the movies. I've never gotten rid of the movies, animated and real, but I had to give up some of the games. And I picked up versions of the games that I never owned before. We found the DualShock edition of the Director's Cut. Unfortunately, this version is still the one that has the original intro scenes cut and everything like that, but it has the way cooler intro, or the way cooler cover. It doesn't have Chris sitting there like he's like, "Arr!" Like Chris just looks so weird, or it's supposed to be Chris on the original Director's Cut, but this, yeah. So I'm going to eventually get the other two, and these I probably will try to find all versions of. But this is the DualShock version. Really cool to actually own. It's complete, luckily. Moving on to the second one. This one is actually where I got my start on the N64. I never got to play the PlayStation port, but luckily I was able to find this. And this one is the black label, so I'm very happy about this one. And this one actually has the sweepstakes, so I think this one is the very first one. So I think this is the initial release, because we got a DualShock version of it later on. But I think this one is the one with the giveaway, and that's Resident Evil 2. This game scared the living crap out of me as a kid. It introduced me to the franchise. Loved the story on it. And I never got to play through the second campaign, so we're going to be going through that once I do the Resident Evil. Just like with Castlevania, I'm going to be going through the Resident Evil franchise from beginning to end for Halloween, so it's going to be awesome. Hopefully we'll be able to get through both franchises, both Castlevania and PlayStation, but you got to have a copy of Resident Evil 2. It's probably one of the best Resident Evil games out there. Speaking of Castlevania, this one I am very happy to own in any regards, whether it's greatest hits or not. But one of the best Castlevania games ever to exist. What started the turn in the Castlevania from original gameplay into the newer style, and that's freaking Symphony of the motherfucking Night. Castlevania Symphony of the Night, one of the coolest soundtracks, one of the most crazy gameplays. The inverted castle, the enemies, the weapons you get, the abilities. Getting to play as Dracula's son, Alucard, it's just so freaking sick. This is considered one of the best Castlevanias of all time. I mean, how can you not? Look at that right there. Look at old Drac sitting on the back. God, it's so insane. Just Castlevania Symphony of the Night, one of the best Castlevanias of all time, and I already own this game on 3 other platforms digitally, but I had to go back and get the original. I had to. But just so many bosses in this one. I know there's another version that has an extra playable character, but not this one. I think this is the Saturn port. I don't exactly remember. I need to catch up on my lore, but this is super exciting to have. Very awesome Castlevania game. Very excited to get to own it again. Moving on from the PlayStation to the Dreamcast, one of my favorite consoles of all time. We're going to start off with this one. It is loose, but it is a very hard game to find. That is Skies of Arcadia. Everyone recommends this game to me all the time for being one of the best RPGs, especially on the system. Legends, I don't have a GameCube, so I can't get Legends, but I do have a Dreamcast. Skies of Arcadia, considered one of the best RPGs of all time. Very excited to get to check this one out. I'm a huge Sega fan too, so Sega hasn't released anything in terms of RPGs in a long time. I think this is one of their last ones they released, so very excited to get to check that out. Back into that survival horror vein, we have what was supposed to be the counter to Resident Evil, and this was the closest thing we could get to it. That is Blue Stinger. Survive the terror of Dinosaur Island, awakening shipwrecked just after a meteor collides with a remote biotech research island. You begin to discover an uncontrollable madness unleashed in the meteor's wake. As one secret uncovers another, you piece together a horrifying revelation that could lead to the end of life on Earth. I mean, the graphics did not age well on this game, but playing this back in the day was just super insane. Like, coming off of the Resident Evil vibes, this was right up my alley. I loved it. The voice acting was cheesy. I mean, just look at that cover. Like, look at that dude. He is tormented in the background. But just super awesome to actually get a hold of Blue Stinger again. And again, I have something special to go along with that later on. When I picked up my Dreamcast, I actually got quite a few games. And we are going to tear through some of these. Starting off with one of them, I'm actually a huge collector of these. I love them. Demo discs. From the official Dreamcast magazine, you have, they released every month, they released demo discs that would show a lot of the cool features and music videos and how they made the game, as well as getting to playable and non-playable demos of games coming up that we can be excited about. And this is something I miss nowadays. I actually want to do a full video on demo discs. But we just don't get these kind of things anymore. You can just go online, watch a video. You can get on your console and download a demo now. But you had to wait for these each month to see what they were going to bring. Xbox did them. PlayStation did them. I don't know if Nintendo did them. But I remember Nintendo Power released really cool posters and strategy guides. But demo discs were the shit back in the day. And they were so cool. I've gotten some of my favorite music off of these. I've gotten some of my favorite, found out about some of my favorite franchises off of these things. And this is one of the reasons why, I collect these, is because this is how I like to find out about games. Of course, I can go on any news broadcast site to figure out anything like that, but finding out games like this was magical. It was just magic. Going into the stack of crap that I got when I purchased my Dreamcast. Let's start with the bottom. What's this one? Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX. BMX game on Dreamcast. Dave Mirra, back in the day, during the PS1, PS2 era, Dave Mirra, Kelly Slater, Jeremy McGrath, Tony Hawk, all had their own kind of games, pretty much. The sports genre and extreme sports genre. There were, a handful of actual athletes that got their own games. Dave Mirra was one of them. That was kind of to counteract the Tony Hawk franchise that was going on and blowing up at the time, and that just kind of came out right afterwards. Pretty decent game, though. Actually. I'm not a sports fan at all, so I'm just going to go through all these, but I got them because they were release titles, I believe, for the Dreamcast. They were launch titles, and I would like to have the initial launch games of every console I own, and that is NFL, NBA, and World Series Baseball 2K1. If I remember right, oh yeah, these were all packaged together. You can see, not for resale. These were all packaged in with other things. And I think these were launched with the Dreamcast. So I definitely wanted to own those, even if I never play them. I like the old Maddens. I like the older games. I might play them. My favorite football game is NHL Hits, just because you can beat the living crap out of the other players. But other than that, don't know too much about them. One really fantastic game for the Dreamcast that I need to get the arcade stick, or this is definitely one that I'm a huge fan of. I love the Silent Scope series. I was a huge fan of the arcade game where you get this big old rifle and just go through, and you're a sniper trying to take out targets. That's Silent Scope. Fantastic game. Plus, preview for Nightmare Creatures. Freaking awesome. And look at that. Just that sniper reticle right there on the disc. Classic. Now, one of the biggest games that came out, I need to get the first one, and I need the cover and manual for this one. One of the biggest franchises to come out on the Sega Dreamcast was the Sonic Adventure series. Our first look into true Sonic 3D. Because Sonic 3D Blast does not count. Sonic Adventure 2! This was the first introduction of my favorite character of all time, Shadow the Hedgehog. Or my favorite Sonic character of all time, Shadow the Hedgehog. This was really cool because you got to play as... it was one of the first games where you got to pick different people other than Sonic to play as. You got to play as like Sonic, Knuckles, or Tails. You get to play as a team, which if you're familiar with Sonic Heroes or something like that, you get to play as a team, the good guys or the bad guys, and go through their respective story. And you had originally Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails, or you had Shadow Rogue or Dr. Robotnik, or Eggman, as some remember him as, and just get to go through their respective stories, and it's fantastic. Later on in Sonic Heroes, Eggman is actually replaced with Omega, and then they just continued those games kind of on from there for a little while. The Dreamcast being one of the greatest consoles ever for 2D, they released some of the most epic fighting games, and while this was released on the PS1, I think the Dreamcast version is far superior. This is the first entry in one of the greatest fighting game franchises of all time. That is Marvel vs. Capcom Clash of the Superheroes. This game is freaking insane. This game is amazing. Seeing this when I was a kid, I was awestruck. I was like, holy crap. Ryu from Street Fighter versus Spider-Man. Seeing Tony Stark, Iron Man going up against Ken and Zangief, and just seeing all of these characters from the comics crossing over with video game characters. I was in awe. This was an amazing game. Am I good at it? No. Do I suck extreme ass? Yes. Do I enjoy every freaking second of this game? Hell yes. This game is amazing and led to one of the greatest franchises ever. And this is a must-own for Dreamcast owners, especially if you can get a fight stick on it. I love this game to death. Phelan will tell you that we have some fun time on Marvel. Wins Marvel, baby. Wins Marvel. It's funny because he has Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I have Marvel vs. Capcom 1. And we've been trying to get each other's copies off of each other. Because but I know neither one of us are going to budge. Although recently I actually got the arcade marquee for Marvel vs. Capcom 1. So not only do I have a poster for it, I have the actual arcade marquee, and now I have the official game. So that's super cool. Alright, moving into the PlayStation 2. I recently acquired a PlayStation 2, so it's super awesome to... Actually, I got a stack of games with it, so I have not purchased any of these individually. These are all just what came with the console I bought. And paid $40 for everything, so I'm okay with what I'm getting, and this is the only time I'm going to be okay with getting the red labels. So, coming off the top of the stack, we have Final Fantasy X and X-2. 2 reasons Why I don't like the red versions of these is because, one, it's the red label, and two, they actually switched the name to Square Enix, whereas when the game first came out, it was still Square Soft. But this storyline I played, but I never got all the way through. Always liked the look of the characters. Loved Blitzball. Never played X2, but I'm at least excited that I own it now. But yeah, just never wasn't as big of a fan of these as I was 11 and 12 and 9 and 8 and 7. So I need to go back through and beat these. I just don't want to give a full opinion on them until I actually beat a game. I don't like giving full opinions on what I think about games until I actually complete them and can give you an overall actual opinion. But they were fun, just not quite what I was expecting. Hot Shots Golf 3. Kind of a fun, goofy little golf game. Very humorous, very cartoony. Kind of a fun play if you played Outlaw Golf. Kind of along the same style of that, just not as raunchy. Pretty fun game. Now, I have not watched Naruto. I do plan on watching it eventually, but this is a Naruto fighting game, Naruto Ultimate Ninja. Don't know anything about the series, so can't really tell you too much about it besides it's a Shonen Jump and a CyberConnect 2. CyberConnect actually worked on the Dot Hack series as well, so that I can vouch for is amazing. Going to the next one, my last red label, but I will be keeping this one. The other red labels I'll be getting rid of once I get the black versions. But this one I will be keeping because it is complete, and it is the red label of a blockbuster release of MX vs. ATV Unleashed. MX vs. ATV, fantastic off-road racing game where you get dirt bikes, quads, monster trucks, even golf carts, trophy trucks. It's really fun. One of the funnest mechanics of it is going out of bounds and getting shotgun back to the middle of the thing. Super fantastic game. One of the first ones, I believe, with online play. Yeah, this one actually had online play to it, so you can play with your friends if you had an internet connection. But anything that was released by Blockbuster, I tried to get a hold of just because I loved Blockbuster as a kid, and yep, it's came in its own case from Blockbuster, so fantastic. Getting into the next couple of here, we have Alone in the Dark. I played a little bit of this game. It's actually a really, really kind of cool, dark, gritty horror game with some action elements to it. I actually watched the movie, was very confused. The book was actually really good. But the game, I need to give it another go. I know it came out for 360. It came out for so many different consoles, but just having it in the collection, it's released by Atari, I'm okay with that. And it's complete, so having any kind of complete black label PS2 game is okay in my book. Coming in at one of the best games, and this one is in a Hollywood video case, but at least it's complete, is one of the greatest Grand Theft Auto games of all time. That is Grand Theft Auto Vice City. 3 was the game on the PS2 that pretty much turned Grand Theft Auto into what it is now. Grand Theft Auto became what it is because of 3, and they drove it home with Vice City. Vice City had almost damn near perfect controls, amazing killer soundtrack, the ability to change the soundtrack in the Xbox version, and just a really, really awesome 80s storyline. I'm an 80s nut. I love the 80s. And this hit that string perfectly for me. Just getting to go through all the boats and all the... This was the first time you actually got to really drive boats around, airplanes, incredible weapons, just memorable cars. The people and the voice acting were so good in this one. It was just... So much about this game is fantastic. And if you are a GTA fan and you have not played this, you are doing yourself a disservice. Go play it and have goodness. The next game coming in is actually one of my favorite Final Fantasies, and this is actually a complete, with bonus DVD, Steelbook edition of Final Fantasy XII. Final Fantasy XII was probably one of the easier Final Fantasies to find. They just got a remaster, but it is one of the easiest Steelbooks to pick up for the PS2. And it is a very nice looking Steelbook. I wish I could find the slipcover for it, but when I say a manual, games come with manuals, that's a thick manual. That is a very thick looking manual, and it's just this is back when they were in color. Let me see if I can find a page for you. of the cool stuff. This one even has the little cutout that you were supposed to mail in to register your product, and you could be entered for a monthly drawing to win some cool shit. But this is back when, it showed the maps, it showed you the basics and everything, and it was all in color. That was fantastic. And they even had, with these, it even had special artwork on the inside. And that is just so cool. Because if you look at the other games, this one actually, I think, is about to fall apart. Is this one breaking? Yeah, it's slowly starting to come apart. So I'll have to be careful with this one. But that was one of the worst parts about Blu-ray, about collector's editions and steelbooks, because they were held together by this little plastic clip in the back, and they would just break off from being used so much. And with this being one of the easiest steelbooks to get a hold of, it breaks all the time. All right, here we go. Into the last two PS2 games. We'll start with this one. We have Code Veronica X, which is an HD remake, I believe, of the original Code Veronica. Has some extra... It just has some really cool extra goodies. I've actually never beaten the Code Veronica game. I want to grab the Dreamcast version of it first, and then play X afterwards to see what the differences are, because I don't know too much about the differences. But Code Veronica, one of the most iconic ones. Code Veronica is one of the more iconic Resident Evils that a lot of people remember just because it was everywhere. But this one is not complete. That's not even the real artwork. So I will have to find it eventually. And hopefully I will be able to soon. But it is the Black Label. So I'm happy about that. Now the last one for PS2 is a complete copy of Resident Evil 4. Considered one of the best Resident Evils of all time, it was the first time we actually got the traditional modern-day version of the Resident Evil game, where it's over-the-shoulder action versus the isolated camera angles that we were so used to in Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3. Originally released for the GameCube, and it's been ported to pretty much everything. It's been ported to modern generation. It was on the PlayStation 2. It was on the GameCube. It's on the Wii. We actually had a really good version of it, which was a collector's edition. It came in this really cool Crimson Steelbook. There are subtle differences between each versions. There's apparently an Ultimate Edition of the game as well that comes in a really nice steelbook, has some extra goodies. But each version has something different in it. I don't know what they are, but I have heard that there is a slight difference in each one, different characters and such. But pretty much just running around in this game scared the crap out of me as a kid. The first time I went to the village initially and ran into the chainsaw guy with the freaking crazy sack on his head, I went crazy trying to run away from him, and it was just so good. Wait a minute, hold on, let me see. Okay, so the Resident Evil, this version actually does have the new stuff. This one actually has the separate ways, extras, and a new weapon. So this is the upgraded version, I take it, from the original release for the GameCube. But that is super awesome to actually have. And just, I'm ecstatic to actually just own the original Black Label version of it again. Moving over from the PS2, we have the 360, which I only have a few games for that, just because the 360, one of my probably biggest collections and one of the easiest to collect for. Not too many games are super high priced on this, but these two are definitely harder to find, especially the condition of the second one. First one is Aliens versus Predator. Only played the demo of this one. This is not related to the arcade game, but it is actually a very fun, has a very fun arcade style feel to it, being as you just pick it up and you go around murking the other two races. It's basically aliens versus Predator versus humans. If you ever get stuck playing as the humans, you're kind of screwed because the aliens are just so fast and so quick, and I think it's a really cool rendition, and it's getting harder to find. For some reason, these are still like $30. But I'm a huge horror movie fan. I'm a huge Aliens versus Predator fan. I'm a huge Alien fan, huge Predator fan. So this was a must-own for me, whether it's good or not. that's up to you. I'll be talking about later on when I do an Alien series video. Just super awesome to even get to own it. It's complete, and just very happy. The next one is one of my favorite 360 games of all time, and it is the one way that I can play all the original games. That is one of the most brutal metal motherfucking games ever released. Splatterhouse. This game, I have so many memories of, and it is just amazing. This is a retelling of the original Splatterhouse game. Basically, you are Rick, and you go into this house. You and your girlfriend are on a date, and you're about to propose to your girlfriend. But they have to make a little sidestep on their way to this music festival, and Jennifer gets called up by this doctor to help with some research, to help with this internship, if you will. Little do they know that the doctor is mad and uses Jennifer for an experiment. And it's just basically Rick gets, this one creature just comes up, like this one creature that's one of the doctor's experiments comes out, just rips the crap out of Rick. Your stomachs and guts are all pouring out all over the floor, and you run to the sarcophagus, which is one of the relics that he has around the house, because mad scientists have relics everywhere from history because demons, science, and shit. And it busts open. You're sitting there in a pool of your own blood. Your guts are like bleh, and this mask falls down, and the mask starts talking to you, telling you, you need to get revenge, Rick. You need to put me on. Let me heal you, and you can get your revenge. When we save your precious Jennifer, you'll have your life back. And that's pretty much a lie, because this is a demon soul-sucking evil relic that has a mind of its own and turns you into this beefy, hulking badass. You just immediately discontort, recontort, and blood, guts, everything goes back up into your body, and then you just hulk out and have this mean-looking Jason mask on your face. And just the game is amazing. It has one of the most amazing soundtracks. It has bands like ASG, Lamb of God, Goat Horror, some just incredibly awesome bands for the soundtrack of the game. I would love to find the mask, the shoes, and the skateboard that kind of went along with this game, because they actually did a shoe endorsement deal with Oasis on these. I think it was Oasis, or was it Globe? No, I think it was Globe, where Rick was sporting a pair of Globe skate shoes, and they did a partnership to release one of the special edition shoes, which I tried to get for crazy. But I love this game. This game is amazing. And what's really cool is you can unlock the original first 3 games in here, so you can play Splatterhouse 1, 2, and 3, along with this one, giving you the entire collection except for Wimpaco Graffiti. But one of my favorite franchises of all time, I love Splatterhouse. It is amazing. Before we get into the meat and potatoes, I got a couple of... Oh, no! Damn it! Now that we've gotten that mess cleaned up, let's get into the Xbox One games. So starting out, we have Team Sonic Racing. I have not played it yet, but it is a Sega racing game. I'm a Sega fanboy, so of course, getting anything Sega related, I immediately went out and got it. Apparently, it's not the best racing. I'm a huge fan of the Sega All-Stars Racing and All-Stars Racing Transformed. So I saw this and wondering if it was more like that, but I've heard some mixed emotions about it. So I'm very excited to check it out, but it's a racing game with Sonic characters. And it looks like a lot of the cars are kind of the same, but you can actually customize the cars in this one. So I'm very excited to check that out. One of the series that I never got to check out, and with Xbox being the predecessor to the Dreamcast, of course I got it on Xbox, I got Shenmue 1 and 2. I never got to play the original Shenmue. It is said to be one of the greatest RPGs and one of the greatest Sega games ever released. I heard 3 was not that great, but I've always been curious about it, considering it is based on real-life locations. And it's just very open world, and you can do so much stuff in this without even playing the main game. I'm a huge fan of open world stuff where you can just basically live your life out in the game, and Shenmue apparently have one of those. Great combat system, great story. Very excited to get to check that one out. And it's both games wrapped into one. It's pretty fantastic. Actually, even came with the poster. So very excited to get to check these out. Of course, being a Sega fanboy and getting most of my games on the Xbox because I still consider that, like I said, I still consider that. The Sega Genesis Collection. This has a bunch of Sega Genesis games that are all playable in HD, as well as a handheld Master System games. This has pretty much, if you're looking to get into Genesis, get this. Whether it's on the Switch or the PC or the Xbox or the PlayStation, just pick up a copy of this. Although I do recommend grabbing the Xbox or the PS4 version because the Switch version does not have the two Monster Boy games. I think mainly because it re-released the two Monster Boy games in HD as their own separate titles, but I'm not 100% sure. But this version, the PlayStation 4 version, actually have Wonder Boy 3, in the Monster Slayer, and Wonder Boy Monster World, Master System and Genesis game that are some of my favorite. I love the Wonder Boy series, so I picked this specifically up to play those in HD. But it also has a bunch of games. Has like Alex Kidd, Alien Soldier, Alien Storm, Phantasy Star 2 and 3, Phantasy Star 4, which is considered one of the best Phantasy Star games made. Streets of Rage 1, 2, and 3. Getting to play through those. Streets of Rage 2 is very hard to pick up, so you'll get to actually play this. It has a lot of rare games on it, including games like Landstalker, and has Sword of Vermilion, Revenge of Shinobi. The Toe Jam and Earl games are on here, so great little compilation, and I do recommend, if you do pick this up, picking up one of these controllers. This is the Xbox Fusion by Power A, and it's basically a Sega Saturn controller that you can hook up to your Xbox. Yeah, interchange the faceplates, everything like that. This was a recent pickup. I picked these two up together because Sega. But yeah, you can't beat playing a new age Genesis game with a game that's pretty much a Sega Genesis, Sega Saturn controller. Another franchise that I never got to play through just because there was so much shit that came out, and I was big into Halo back in the day. I never got to play BioShock. I played System Shock and System Shock 2 and loved it. Those games eventually evolved into the BioShock series, so why not go ahead and pick up the BioShock collection? I actually really like that Microsoft actually started doing that instead of changing the color of the cases. It now just has that little sticker imprinted on it that says Greatest Hits, so it doesn't change the look of it, whereas PlayStation has the red cases, which is annoying as hell. But yeah, this has BioShock 1, 2, and Infinite on it, and I'm very excited to get to play it because I love System Shock, and I've always been admired BioShock, so I'm very curious about it. Of course, another game, and the greatest hits are like $20, so they're super easy to pick up. So, of course, I'm picking up all the games I can. I had to grab Fallout 4. I'm a huge fan of 3. I'm a huge fan of New Vegas. I'm a huge fan of the RTS Fallout games, the original games. Played Brotherhood of Steel on the PS2, and played the original Fallout 1 and 2 on PC. So, Fallout is just in my blood. It's always going to be just getting to travel across the wasteland and fuck up some mutants and Deathclaws, and I mean, it has a creature called the Deathclaw. I mean, you rip this skull off, you look like you're getting some satanic motherfucking metal band posted on your freaking door. It's freaking amazing. But it's something definitely worth having if you're a Fallout fan. Fallout 4 just hits the same vein as Fallout 3 in New Vegas. Great addition to the line. We were waiting for this game forever, and I remember when it launched, and I got to pick it back up. Another Sega game. This one I had to pick up the Nostromo edition because of all the DLC, but Alien Isolation, considered one of the best Alien games ever made. This one is true horror at its finest. The cool thing about this is you have no weapons. You have nothing. You have to go through trying to figure out what happened. Like, you get a distress call trying to figure out what the hell happened to this I haven't actually gotten to play it yet, but I do know that everyone has recommended this to me, knowing how big of an Alien fan I am. And just, you have no weapons. You actually have to hide from the alien and try to get through the whole thing unless you're able to get a flamethrower, which has very little ammo. I know that much about it. And I had to get the Nostromo edition because you get to play as Ripley, Dallas, or Parker, which is fantastic because they were on the original Nostromo, and that's where the franchise started for the movie, and I'm so excited. Definitely going to be playing this through the month of October. Super happy about it. Getting back on my Resident Evil kick, I have a sealed copy of Resident Evil 7. I got this for my birthday. My mom knows how much of a Resident Evil fan I am. And I am leaving this one sealed because it was a birthday gift. And I want to preserve it. And it was from my mom. So, Resident Evil 7, we all know pretty much that this is Resident Evil's take back to survival horror at its finest. And The Village is going to be coming out soon, so if you don't know much about Resident Evil, I'm not going to spoil it because I know a lot of people are going to be playing this game to get ready for The Village. So, but got a copy of that. Another second game, Super Monkey Ball. Fantastic little franchise. I don't know much about this version. I know back in the day, Super Monkey Ball was amazing. Basically, you were a monkey in a ball trying to go through obstacle courses. And it's so cute and adorable and fun. And it's just super fun. Getting to play as Acai is just awesome. So having more Monkey Ball is never a bad thing. I'm going to do all these next ones in a big old bunch here. Because I had to get them. And I'm going to probably end up getting all these on every console. But it is the Mega Man series. This is Mega Man Legacy Collection 1, which has Mega Man 1 through 6. Mega Man Legacy Collection 2. Mega Man 7, 8, and 9 and 10. Then we have Mega Man X Legacy Collection Double Pack, which has physical copies of X-Men Legacy Collection. We have Mega Man, which this one contains Mega Man X Legacy Collection 1 and 2 in their physical forms, having actually containing 2 discs, where in most copies it was 1 disc and the download code for the second one. So actually getting physical copies, which is why I completed the Xbox collection first, is because all of these have an individual copy release. And then, of course, Mega Man 11. I mean, it's Mega Man. You can't go wrong with the Little Blue Bomber. And just having all of the entire things in a collection. Mega Man 1 through 10, and then Mega Man 1 through 11, and then the Mega Man X series. All we're missing is Legends, and I think, yeah, all we're missing is the Legends series and the Battle Network series, and we're going to have it all, because we already got the Zero and ZX collection, so that will be coming very, very soon. The next game is a very interesting game I've been very curious about. That is The Sinking City. Apparently it didn't do too hot because it's already at $8, but it's a Cthulhu game. Oh, no, I dropped my steelbook. Keep dropping shit. This one is kind of looking like, I haven't played it yet, but it looks like an L.A. Noire style mind horror game based on the Cthulhu universe. The trailer looked freaking sick. That was what messed with me, seeing the Elder Sign and just the Cthulhu tentacles coming down and swiping you up, and then you walk through the door and you watch the ending of you dying and coming back, and it's this infinite loop. And it's just, if you don't know anything about the H.P. Lovecraft mythos, just do a little research, read Call of Cthulhu, and just brush up on the experience, because that will make this game much more intensive. But basically, you're trying to figure out what is going on. The city is flooding, and nobody knows why, and everybody's going crazy. Food is scarce, ammo is scarce, and you have to go in and figure out why while dealing with your own sanity. So that's a very cool one to get to check out. I'm very excited about getting to play that one. Picked up Okami HD because I have not played it. It's a Capcom release. A beautiful game. You get to play as Amaterasu, the very, very, very beautiful white wolf. Don't know too much about the game, but I have heard everyone talk about it, and very curious about it. It deals with it deals with old Eastern lore, and I'm very excited to get to actually check the game out. Of course, I got it on Xbox. Coming up next is, being a huge horror and gore and movie fan, I had to get Friday the 13th on every console, of course. This one, of course, has all the DLC in it, but it is Friday the 13th. No extras. This is what I hate about new games. There's no extra goodies. Nothing. You look at games like this, we actually got shit in them. Nothing here. You could have put a poster of Friday the 13th in there. You could have put something, but we got nothing. You have spots for stuff in there. There's little prongs for a reason. There were little prongs for a reason. Anyways, Friday the 13th is basically cat and mouse. You're either a camper or you're Jason. And Jason's objective is to kill the camp counselors. Camp counselors' mission is to either survive, kill Jason, or call the cops. It's very fantastic. It odes to all the movies. It even references the 8-bit NES version, which was a frustratingly awesome game all on its own. But this one, it kind of also take an ode, is very similar to Dead by Daylight. Except you have more objectives to do in this, I feel. I've never played Dead by Daylight, but very curious about that one too. But yeah, this is just, if you're a Friday the 13th fan, this is a no-brainer. You got to pick this one up. I love it. I picked up the Xbox version because I have it digitally, and me and my wife are going to play it hopefully soon. Now, coming on to the last Xbox game, I picked this one up considering both times I've seen this game was on the Xbox, and the first game was supposed to be an Xbox exclusive, and as of yet late has not. I picked up the 10th anniversary collector's steelbook of Vanquish and Bayonetta, or Bayonetta and Vanquish. This is the first Bayonetta game and Vanquish. Both games released by Sega. Comes this really, really, really beautiful steelbook. You can see the characters both on the back. Now, the thing is, when it released, I never got to play Bayonetta. I still have not played it. I played the demo of 1 and 2, and I loved it. It's very arcade-style badassery action, very much in the vein of like Devil May Cry, and those style games. Very flashy, very combo-heavy. Really like the look of it. I just never got around to actually picking it up, but now I have an excuse to play it because it is an HD remaster, and it comes with Vanquished, another game that I was very curious about because I'm a huge mech fan. So getting to run around in this bio exosuit that has all these cool ninja moves and all this other cool stuff, just really cool. And I picked it up because it's also a steelbook and an anniversary edition nonetheless. Very excited to get to check those out. Starting on the PS4, I actually grabbed the UK copy of Alien Isolation. This is actually how I first initially started to. I played the first chapter of it. I know I talked about the Xbox version, but I played the first chapter, or the first level. Loved what I played, and I started on the original, so of course I had to pick it back up. This is the Alien Isolation Basic Edition for the PS4. Coming in next is actually, this one is very special. Two reasons why this is very special to me. This is Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition on the PS4. I picked it up for 2 reasons. One, Neverwinter Nights has a very soft spot in my heart. It's one of the only ways I got to play D&D. Neverwinter Nights, if you don't know, is actually a sub-campaign storyline in the D&D universe. It has kind of taken on its own persona, if you will, inside of that universe. And now there's the game called Neverwinter that delves with everything as an RPG alongside Dungeons & Dragons. But Neverwinter Nights was a PC game that I played when I was a kid. The manual was like this thick, and you could read through all the different abilities. It literally was like a little D&D book by itself. And I used to take that to read at school, and just played the ever-loving crap out of this game. So having to pick it up, an HD remaster of the game, is just amazing to have it on console and get to play it that way. But also, me and my wife came across an EB Games. And if you're unfamiliar, EB Games is an electronic boutique, and they were bought out by GameStop way back in the day. And EB Games is where I did a lot of like original video game trading during the days of the Game Boy Advanced SP and the PlayStation and the GameCube, and where I really started to become conscious of video gaming and just how much else was out there and expanding to other stuff. EB Games was there to help me transition into the newer generations. And when GameStop took over and they kind of made everything more of a corporation kind of thing, it wasn't quite the same. GameStop was still a magical place when I was a kid, but just not quite like, it just wasn't quite the same as EB Games. And when EB Games went out of business, they still have a few up in that aren't related to GameStop up in Canada, but just seeing an EB Game Store still open. It was ran by GameStop, but it was still the whole store and everything was still EB Games. So I had to pick up something from there. They were closing down. They are closing a bunch of stores. Actually, 429 stores are closing for GameStop. And the EB Games, this EB Games just happened to be one of them. And I just had to purchase something because I never got to go purchase something from the EB Games that I grew up at or I grew up with. So I had to pick up this because the EB Games was closing. I don't think I'll ever walk into another EB Games again in my lifetime. So walking in there one last time to make one last purchase, especially a purchase like this, was 100% worth it. And I got some other stuff from there too. I'll show you here in a minute. But very special game. We got Predator Hunting Grounds to go along with the Alien and Predator stuff from earlier. Predator Hunting Grounds was a game developed. Predator Hunting Grounds, a game developed by Ilphonic. Basically, where it's kind of like Friday the 13th, where you are a predator and you're going and hunting all the humans. That's about as much as I know on it. The biggest reason I know about this game is, besides it being a Predator game, one of my favorite horror movie characters of all time, is the company Ilphonic actually hired Kutra from the Creatures, and he worked on this game a little bit. But it's really cool. This game actually has, this is one thing I do like about these, they actually have reversible cover art that you can actually change into posters. A lot of companies are starting to do that now, which is really awesome. And I mean, it's Predator. It's freaking Predator. The last Predator game we got was Concrete Jungle for the PS2 and Xbox. So having another Predator game is always going to be an awesome thing. Recently on PlayStation Now, I started playing the Arkham series again. I'm a huge Batman fan. He's probably my favorite. He's probably my second favorite DC character. Just underneath Green Lantern. But Batman has always been a favorite of mine, and they re-released the Arkham games. If you guys don't know the Arkham games, they're considered some of the best Batman games of all time besides the NES games. Fantastic combat, great dialogue, great script. Mark Hamill's the Joker. Just fantastic version of Batman right here. And this actually has 2 physical copies, one of Arkham City and one of Arkham Asylum. And then there is a triple pack that has Arkham Knight in it as well that I need to find. But I was playing through the game and I wanted to play, instead of the PS3 version, I wanted to play the PS4 version to get the trophies all over again. So here we go. This one was kind of an impulse buy earlier. I'm a huge fan of Infamous, and so I picked up Infamous Second Son. Infamous, how do I explain it? It's an open world, kind of superhero-y style game from what I remember. Basically, you're somebody who has superpowers that can conduct electricity, and if you've ever played Sunset Overdrive, it's very similar to that. You can skate along the power lines, and you basically just get to roam the city. You get to roam the city, complete missions, as everything has a regular person that inherited superpowers. So, fantastic series. Let's wait to get into these. Actually, I will do that one after that. Let's get into these 3. Alright, so I already talked about this, but of course, the game originally came out for PS2, so I had to pick it up for PS4, Okami. They gave it to me in a really crappy case, so the disc will not stay shut. So I might go buy a copy of Madden for 3 cents, just so I can have a good PS4 case, because this will not stay in here for the life of me. But bought it on Xbox because I like achievements, but the game originally released on the Wii and the PS2, so I have to get it on PS4. Ghostbusters. I played this game on the Xbox 360 and adored it. This was a game that pretty much was Ghostbusters 3. Ghostbusters 1 and 2 were fantastic movies. We never got a third movie. And this is essentially what the third movie would have been. If it was all special effects, we pretty much got Ghostbusters 3 with this. And it's a fantastic continuation of the original Ghostbusters storyline, having all the original cast members as voice actors. And it's fantastic. It's Ghostbusters goodness in a video game. And it's very well done. Sanctum of Slime and the new Ghostbusters are kind of cool twin-stick shooters. This one actually gives you more control over your shoulder kind of thing. New enemies. Stay Puft comes back. fantastic game. If you're a Ghostbusters fan, you need to play this. And this is a remastered version of it. But even the original version is perfect. Recently picked up a game that hit the nostalgia button perfectly. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. If you pre-ordered it, you got this cool little tech deck that I just recently picked up of the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 skateboard. But Tony Hawk 1 and 2 is a remaster and... actually, it's a remaster and remake in a way of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. I don't believe it's 2X. I think it's just 2. But it also has the original cast and some new skaters, including like Riley Hawk, Tony Hawk's son. But it's basically both games remastered with all the original challenges and a multiplayer mode. Fantastic. This controls even better than the originals did. Just going through it, hearing the old soundtrack, getting to play as like Steve Caballero and Eric Costin and Chad Muscala, or Chad Muska, Rune Glifberg, Bucky Lassick, Bob Burnquist, Tony Hawk, and seeing the newer people like Riley Hawk and all them, it's literally Vicarious did such a good game. Vicarious did such a good job with this one. It literally is a perfect throwback to the people that grew up with it, like me, playing this originally on the N64 and then over to the PlayStation 2. This was amazing to get to replay because it's just enough of the old stuff to really hit the nostalgia button, but it has just enough newer stuff in it to keep you entertained and playing more, and a perfect way for newer people to visit an old franchise. And I really hope we get 3 and 4 this way too. It'd be so awesome to see that. All right, now like I said, one of the franchises that I love the most. While I don't know everything about these franchises, I still love the hell out of these games. I'm a survival horror fan, as I've mentioned many, many times. I'm a huge gore metal fan. You can't get more gore. You can't get more fucking metal. You can't get more perfect than Resident Evil. And we got a almost full Resident Evil collection here. Starting off with Resident Evil Origins collection, which is Resident Evil Remaster and Resident Evil 0. All on one disc. Starting off, we have the Resident Evil Origins collection, which has Resident Evil 0 and the Resident Evil Remake, which is a retelling of the first story, all on one disc. Have not gotten to play these yet all the way through, but just a retelling of these stories on HD is going to be awesome. Super excited to get to own that again. Resident Evil 2 have not opened yet. I have not played the remakes yet because I want to beat 2 and 3 first before I play through these. Just because I want the full experience of beating the original games so I can relate to the new ones. This was actually a fan remake if you weren't familiar, and then Capcom ended up picking that small studio up and helped fund the rest of it. So we got a full Resident Evil 2, the remake, which is a remake of the original story. I have Resident Evil 3, but that's back in Tennessee right now. I did pick up Resident Evil 3, so I do own that. I hear that one's a little bit shorter than the original one, but I'm about to get 3 hopefully soon on the Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, so we'll get to see how that relates to the new ones. When I do my full Resident Evil playthrough, we'll play the originals first and then the remakes. Of course, I already have a copy of it already, but we're going with Resident Evil 4 because I'm obsessed with trophies. Resident Evil 4, again, one of the best Resident Evils of all time, one of the most iconic Resident Evils of all time, because it turned into an action adventure horror game. Just fantastic. Very happy I get to own that on PS4 and collect the trophies again, because this is the Resident Evil 4 copy we will most likely be playing. I need to do some research to find out if this has all the stuff that if this is the definitive edition. Now, going down the line for the less popular Resident Evils. I liked Resident Evil 5. This was actually the first Resident Evil I ever fully completed with a buddy of mine in co-op. Resident Evil 5. This one actually has all the DLC. It has Lost in Nightmares and the Mercenaries United, as well as extra figures, and a bunch of extra DLC goodies. This is basically Resident Evil 5 Gold Edition on the PS4, because I want trophies. So when I play through Resident Evil 5, we're going to be playing this one, so I can get trophies, because I already beat the 360 version. And We're still missing 6. 6 I want to get on PS4, but I also want the Anthology Collection and the Archives Collection, so I gotta hunt those down. But coming in on the last Resident Evil, we have, unfortunately, the red label, because I gotta go hunt down the damn green. I gotta go hunt down the freaking gold one, because I have it on Xbox One. I have the base copy. Now I need the gold version on PS4, so that way I can have both versions, but not have the same copy of the same game. Resident Evil 7, base copy, red label. This one, I actually think the red label works for greatest hits because it's Resident Evil. It has red. That's super cool. The Wii copy came red, so I might hold on to this one just because the Wii version of 4 released in red case. I kind of want to hold on to that one just for nostalgia factor. I'm going to keep this one sealed. Who knows what this could be worth later on down the road. It's a greatest hits, but it's Resident Evil in a red case. That's kind of awesome. But it's probably going to be the only red case I get for PS4. Because with older games, it's harder to find the black labels, and I like the green label, but PS2, PS3, PS4, I'm going to go with original cases. PS1, I like the green. That'll be all right. Silver cases on Xbox, that's all right too. And the last game we actually have to cover, besides some Switch titles, is a game that was originally in it. This game was originally released. This game was originally intended to be a Resident Evil game, but it ended up becoming so different that they changed it into its own franchise. That is Onimusha Warlords. This was supposed to be a zombie outbreak in the Resident Evil universe that happened in Japan, but it ended up being too different that they ended up making its own thing. You were basically a samurai in feudal Japan going around killing demons. And what's really cool about this game is they left a lot of the stuff from when it was a Resident Evil game in there. So like the load screens, the transitions, everything were just like they were in Resident Evil. Same with Devil May Cry. They left the transitions in there very similar. The cameras were the same. I never beat this game, and I wanted to replay it, and it's a lot harder to find the PS2 version, and I like trophies, so PS4 version, there you go. But who doesn't want to be a motherfucking ninja or a motherfucking samurai with a sword slaying zombies and demons and other shit? You can't go wrong. Alright, the last couple games I got, nothing too exciting here. We have Animal Crossing New Horizons. Animal Crossing, this is actually my first entry into the series. I've never been one for the cutesy, kind of cuddly, kind of those type of games, but this one surprised me. I see why everybody likes it. It's really cool. It's a game you can relax to. You can build your own island and meet people on the way and just gather a whole bunch of stuff. It's a really good, relaxing game. I actually really enjoy it. Might check out the other Animal Crossings. Plus, I mean, you could put my buddy Josh put a fucking satanic sigil right in the middle of his island. So as you're flying in, all you see is this big satanic summoning symbol. And now I have the goat head on my t-shirt. So yeah, that's pretty fucking awesome. And what's really cool is if you do it right, you can actually make a torture chamber. How fucking brutal is that? And seeing those kind of cutesy cuddly characters in a torture chamber, very odd. Coming in next, the game that I will not own. We were gonna go this way. And coming in for the last game, we have Coming in for the last game on Switch, we have Mega Man Zero ZX Collection. This one is an HD remaster of the Game Boy Advance games and DS games, I believe, of Mega Man 0, 02, 03, and Mega Man 04, as well as ZX and ZX Advent. I'm a huge Mega Man fan, but sadly, the handheld games I never got to play. I wasn't too big into handheld outside of Pokemon and Mega Man when I was younger. And so I never got to play these. But they re-released now, and I'll get to check them out, and we'll get to see what happened to Zero during the right after the X series. So very excited about that. Get to check that out. Fantastic. All right, the last couple games we have to review are a couple PSP games because I love my PlayStation Portable. I need to get a Vita, but I still love the PSP. That is Afterburner, Black Falcon. Love the Afterburner series. This one feels very much like Climax. If you've never played Afterburner, and you have a PSP, pick this one up. It is actually very, very, very good. I really enjoyed this. But it's Afterburner on the go, unless you want to download the mobile phone version and play it on your phone with ads. But I like the PSP version. The last one is probably one of my favorite pickups so far. That is Castlevania Dracula X Chronicles. This is Symphony of the Night and Rondo of Blood 2.5 remake. They actually took Rondo of Blood and morphed it into a 2.5 adaptation of the original TurboGrafx game and let it link into Symphony of the Night. In this one, Richter and Maria is actually playable, I believe. But this is basically a prequel to Symphony of the Night on the go, and you get to play Symphony of the Night. But the cool part is you can actually unlock the original Rondo of Blood. This is one of the only ways that you could play the original Rondo of Blood here in America, because Rondo of Blood didn't release over here. We got Dracula X Chronicles, which is a game with some alterations, and it's not quite the same game, whereas this gives us a modified version of Rondo of Blood and the original version of Rondo of Blood. So that's one of the only versions outside of the TurboGrafx Mini that you can play the original Rondo of Blood. And the artwork looks sick. I don't have the game in there right now because it's actually in my PSP. I was playing it earlier. But yeah, super happy to actually finally get a hold of this. This is hard to track down. Dracula X is going to be an even bigger bitch to track down. In the last game, I found this at Goodwill. And I just had to pick it up because I could not believe it exists. This is a PC game I spent $2 for. And again, I cannot believe it exists. It's made by Interplay. Redneck Rampage Rides Again, Arkansas. What is this? Like, what is that dude's face? Eating a chicken wing and be like, her. He actually looks like my cousin. Although I'm from Georgia. Well, we crash landed that UFO in the desert, and Bubba says he wants to go home, and heck, I don't blame him, because there ain't no place like Hickston. According to my map, we're gonna have to blast our way through Jackalore Farms, a riverboat, and a brothel. Bubba can't wait. As well as all heck for we get home again. I have no clue what the hell this is, but I'm going to install it and we're going to play it on stream at some point. Because this is just weird. This is so strange and I cannot believe that this exists. I just picked it up. It was $2. I have no idea what it's about. I've never heard of it before. If you know anything, please let me know, because that's just funny. Alright, last few things that we got. That's all the games. If you guys have made it this far, let me know. Give me a like. Let me know in the comments below. But we're on to the last few things, just a few collectibles. When I was at the GameStop, or the EB Games, they actually gave me a lot of really cool, like, extra collectibles that I never got to pick up. This was a really cool little kind of lunchbox for Doom Eternal that they had. Nothing real special, I don't think, inside of it. It's just a little Doom Eternal lunchbox that you got for pre-ordering the collector's edition. Nothing special inside of it. But I love Doom Eternal. I'm a huge Doom fan. Of course, blood, gore, metal. Mick Gordon, you are a god. Have my babies. In the musical world, please. I'm a guitar player. I really wish I didn't swallow at that point, because now it sounds like I just want Mick Gordon to impregnate me. But hell, if that gives me any kind of his musical genius, then fuck it. But little lunchbox is very cool. Any kind of Doom merch, I love that. They actually had one of the Nitro Crash Team Racing Nitro refueled bobbleheads. That'll be really cool to look on the shelf when I get that built. We were out hunting, me and the wife. We actually found a 2-disc SSX3 soundtrack, which has music from Fatboy Slim, Swollen Members, Chemical Brothers, Nerd, Basement Jacks. But it also comes with the bonus DVD, which has the trailer, sneak peek behind the scenes, screensavers, character icons, music videos, cheats, and hints. So very cool to get to see that. It was only $2 at the Goodwill. Always awesome to get to improve my stuff. Recently, One of the movies that was one of the coolest movies when I was a kid. Not a great movie, but it is how we all found out about Super Mario Bros. 3. We just basically wanted to see the games. The Wizard got a collector's edition release. Blu-ray. It looks freaking awesome. Because we all want to go to California. And now we get to on Blu-ray. I'm excited about that. Love the cover art. You actually have an inverted color too. You actually have an inverted cover. And this one actually has all the bonus features, as well as the original cover on the back. That is just fucking awesome. I love that to death. I pre-ordered this. This is the first time I've ever pre-ordered a movie. But, I mean, it's made by Shout Factory. And Shout Factory does some awesome re-releases, so why the hell not? Get to see Mario Bros. 3 and the Power Glove in HD. Alright, coming in we have books. Books upon books upon books. Going along with the Arkham games, if you guys don't know, I'm going to briefly go over these. I found the Batmetal series, which is based on the Batman Who Laughs. Batman Metal is probably one of the most brutal and motherfucking awesome Batman stories ever to exist. Super excited about this. And what is the coolest part about this is actually just some of the better character designs I've ever seen from these characters. So very excited to get to check this out. If I remember right, the Bat Who Laughs was actually made by Jim Lee, if I am correct. Oh, anyways, if you're a fan of metal and you're a fan of Batman, this is where Batman just goes ape shit. And I'm very excited to get to read it. I don't know too much about it, but I heard about it, and I was like, fucking yes, let's go. Super awesome. Now, one of the craziest things I like to collect guidebooks or strategy guides. And so anytime I find one, I'll get to pick one up. First off, one of the best and favorite indie games that I've ever played is Shovel Knight. And I found the Shovel Knight strategy guide. So much goodness in here, telling about the characters, all the different things. Getting to learn about the armor sets and just all the different abilities. I'm wondering if they released one for each character, because this is back when Shovel Knight, before it split off into the expansions for Spectre of Torment and all the others. But the coolest part about it is it still has the Shovel Knight poster, which I will definitely be posting up. But that is actually really cool. I just got to take off the little end piece there. But it still actually has the original poster. Finding that in a thrift store is freaking sick. Halo is one of my favorite franchises of all time, even though I know that game completely in and out. Having it as part of the Halo collection, the Halo 2 strategy guide, considered one of the best Halos of all time. And just Halo media in general is so cool, just getting to kind of see different weapons, where stuff is in the levels, even though I've 100% of this game. Maybe there is something more I can learn about it, especially learning more about the enemies and learning just all the information I can about one of those franchises. We talked about Blue Stinger earlier, and now we can talk about the Blue Stinger strategy guide. Luckily, what's insane is I got all these manuals for about $8 a piece, and they're going online for like 30. So, Blue Stinger strategy guide tells you, of course, how to get through the game, different weapon sets, all the other cool stuff, different artwork from the game, as well as some cool developer stuff in the back. So just getting to go through the world of Blue Stinger, these are thin, and I can't find anything. Unfortunately, no poster about that one, but just having this is super cool, and having the information. It looks like this one did have a poster at one time, but it's gone now. But just having information on the weapon stats is going to be amazing. But it has all the maps on there and everything. Super cool to find. I bought this one because I love Shadow the Hedgehog, but the game is complete and total garbage. But I got Shadow the Hedgehog. I just like the character. This is a book about Shadow the Hedgehog. No poster, but it does show about the controller, which is awesome. And shows like stickers that this was $3 at one point because the game did terrible. But if I ever want 100% the game, I can go find it. Now these next two are fantastic because this one is unique because it is the sequel to Chrono Trigger, and that is a thick old boy. Look at that. And RPGs, having strategy guides to RPGs is just perfect. Getting to see all the cool stuff and what the monsters do and all the abilities and just the more in-depth on the chapters and the items, and just giving as much backstory and information as they can about the characters and all the enemies in the game. I love these kind of strategy guides. Just having all the information, finding the secret items and everything was so awesome. That's why I subscribed to Nintendo Power when I was young, so I could get more strategy guides. Now this is the coolest one. Remember the Final Fantasy Chronicles? Well, I found the strategy guide. The unique part about it is you go through this side, it has Final Fantasy 2 or 4. You flip it over, and it has the Chrono Trigger guide on the back. How sick is that? It's like one of those weird... It's one of those things that has two strategy guides in one. It actually shows the full Chronicles, but just seeing that, I'm like, oh my god, Chrono Trigger strategy guide. Look on the back. Oh, is that an advertisement? No! It's also Chrono Trigger. How cool is that? I just love that it inverts to the next strategy guide. You can actually go through and have a guide for each game, so you don't have to go look for $2. They kept it small. They kept it awesome. And I really admire that. Brady Games, I miss you. Wish you would come back. They stopped production on strategy guides a long time ago. And now I'm just trying to buy every one that I can just because these were awesome. These were awesome to read. Like, you go to the bathroom, you didn't take your phone, you took your strategy guide. So you could be like, oh, this is coming up. This is what's going to happen. This is where this has been that I can't find. I mean, strategy guides were the shit back in the day, and I miss them. I miss them a lot. But anyways, guys, that is it for the largest pickup I have ever done. Probably the largest pickup that is done in general. I won't be going this long again. Next time we're going to cut this down a lot so we don't have to go through all of this crazy stuff again. It'll be a lot smaller. I can go into more detail about the stuff as well, but I want to appreciate you guys. Anyone who has made it this far, thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified whenever I post a new video. Like I said, I'm going back to older style videos, so look forward to that. I got a lot to talk about, but thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video.